In World War II, at the lower levels, most of the men went, this was towards the end of World War II. Yes, I've been in the business a long time. Most of the men had marched off to war, so they pretty well had to hire some women to fill those gaps.
Physically indestructible, absolutely. She's been around a long time. She went through the civil rights battles of the 1960s and covered those in Virginia. And she was with the Washington Star at the time and won a Pulitzer Prize.
You can't deny that the Pulitzer isn't an exciting honor, but I think the fact that I was able to overcome some of the prejudices and get promoted through the ranks to become an editor, and at a time when even the, the Post didn't have any women editors, I sort of broke that barrier.
She is, or should be, the role model for, I was going to say for women in journalism, I'd just say for people in journalism.
I was working at the Bureau of National Affairs, Inc., which is a private publishing firm, when this newspaper was started. And I was very intrigued by it. I saw the first edition out with Smith Hempstone's picture on the front, talking about what buccaneers they were and everything. They were going to defy all the odds. And I said to some of my colleagues, gee, if I didn't have this job here, I'd try to get a job over there.
Ben is probably the most charming member of the Washington Times family. He's got, what, everything. He's a joy to talk with because he's really knowledgeable about a broad array of topics. You name it, Ben can discuss it with intelligence.
He's a historian. Just this morning I saw him giving a little lecture to somebody on the mezzanine about the Merovingian kings.
I don't think 25 years in retrospect seems like such a long time. If I think about it in detail, a lot has happened. And I was a lot younger when I started, and my son was a young boy. Now he's a grown man of 29. So there have been a lot of changes, but it just doesn't, I guess when time goes by fast when you're having fun.
You know, I was always interested in politics. And of course, if you like politics, this is Washington, D.C. is the place to be.
He has an interesting column to write because he looks over on any given day dozens, I don't know, over the course of the week, hundreds of different blogs, columnists, newspaper articles, videos, and he has to pick and choose just a relatively small number to include in that day's Inside Politics.
One thing that I noticed when I first started doing it is a lot of the radio talk show hosts picked up on stuff in the column. I would be driving into work in the early afternoon sometimes and listening to Rush Limbaugh. And one day he actually mentioned my name. I almost, drove the car off the road.
Oh, he's very exacting, but that's cool, He doesn't tolerate mistakes.
I was thrilled to get a job here in D.C. at the Washington Times. It was really a dream come true for me.
I have known him fairly well since 1996. And how I got to know him was I started playing the Celtic harp. He invited me to this Highland Games thing at Episcopal High School, and there he was in a kilt, marching around, and he looked just so dashing.
One of the editors decided that it would be an interesting thing to start a column about diplomats, and they got me to do it, and I came up with the name Embassy Row, and I've been writing this column Monday through Friday since 1993.
Well, I think he's an ambassador for the paper. In addition to writing his column, he represents the Washington Times, as I said, at embassy functions, at think tank events, and it gives us an added dimension because sometimes perhaps something would slip through the cracks and you might not do a news story about it, but James is there, and James is there to put it in the paper, to put it on record, and to show attention not just to issues but to people, to personalities. He's just very pleasant. He's a lot of fun. I mean, he's so charming. I love his mustache. I love the way he dresses. He's just a fun person, and because he's been around for a while, he has a lot of great stories to tell.
Well, you can't talk about John McCaskill without talking about his wit. John has a great sense of humor and a really good news sense, And he's energetic, smart, but he likes to have fun too. So it was a great time. He was a good guy to learn from.
John McCaslin is well known for his article Inside the Beltway. He writes and has written for 25 years now his article Inside the Beltway. But he doesn't know that there's a Rockville, Maryland. Outside of the Beltway, he's completely and utterly lost. Which I think one of the best aspects of being able to work with John McCaslin is his network contact base and being able to meet individuals as he's met. Many of them he's paid off and brings in really it's just favors.
Do you remember your first day at the Washington Times 25 years ago?
I do. I was a terrified 25-year-old coming up to take a sports job, and I had no idea what lay in front of me. The paper had just started, but I was willing to take a chance, and 25 years later, I don't regret I did.
I met Michael about 17 years ago. He was assistant managing editor, and he always had a tan, and he understood advertising. Working with him, he's got his enthusiasm, his passion, his drive. I mean, he had a dream to produce a golf magazine, and he actually got up and did it, and has a beautiful product.
Mike is a very creative guy. We've always thought a lot of his marketing capabilities. He always came up with great ideas for marketing golf styles.
He's a trendsetter. He thinks outside the box. And whatever he goes after, I think it's successful, you know. He's that type of person.
I never dreamed that I'd be here 25 years when I came up here as an eager sports writer. But 2.5 decades later, I don't regret that I did.